Let's be honest, if she truly didn't care, you'd feel nothing. No confusion, no late-night replay of her words, no quiet pull in your chest when her name lights up your phone and then goes dark again. Indifference is clean. What you're feeling right now is not. And that's why this mess is unsettling, because it isn't rejection. It's hesitation wrapped in desire, fear dressed up as distance. Here's the truth most men never hear. When a woman is scared of falling for you, her behavior doesn't look cold. It looks conflicted. She leans in, then vanishes. She opens a door emotionally, then pretends she never touched the handle. One day she's warm, curious, present. The next day, she's busy, distracted, unreachable. And if you don't understand female psychology, you misread that pullback as avoidance. You chase harder, you over-explain. You try to stabilize something that isn't meant to be stable yet. That's where men lose power. What's happening beneath the surface is more dangerous for her. Falling for you means risk. It means losing control of the story she's told herself about love, independence, or safety. It means vulnerability. And vulnerability is expensive, especially for a woman who's been hurt, disappointed, or who prides herself on being emotionally self-contained. So when the feelings show up real, your nervous system hits the brakes, not because you're wrong, because you're right. Notice the pattern. She doesn't disappear completely. She leaves threads. She checks your stories. She responds eventually. She remembers small details you never thought mattered. She asks questions that go deeper than casual curiosity, then pulls back right after. That push-pull isn't a game. It's self-P protection. She's trying to feel without falling, to connect without committing, to taste the edge without stepping off the cliff. And here's the part that stings. When she's scared of falling for you, she watches you more closely than when she's chasing you. She studies how you react to distance. Whether you panic, whether you pressure, whether you collapse into reassurance seeking, or whether you stay grounded, self-respect intact, moving forward with your life. This is where men unknowingly talk themselves out of attraction. Not by doing too little, but by doing too much. Understand this clearly. Avoidance is final. Fear is temporary. Avoidance has no curiosity in it. No emotional leakage. Fear leaks everywhere through mixed signals, through accidental honesty. Through moments where she forgets to be guarded and lets you see her softness, then recoils because she showed too much. If she were avoiding you, you'd be cut off cleanly, politely, permanently. Fear keeps the door half open because part of her wants to walk through it. Your job is not to convince her. It's not to interrogate her confusion or demand clarity she hasn't earned yet. Your job is to become the calm in the tension. The man who doesn't rush her fear or reward her withdrawal with anxiety. The man who understands that real attraction often scares the people who feel it most, because falling means surrender. And surrender is terrifying when it's real. If you felt her pull away, right after a deep moment, right after laughter lingered too long, right after emotional closeness sharpened pay attention, that's not the sound of a door closing. That's the sound of resistance. And resistance only exists where desire already lives. When she pulls back right after things feel good, it messes with your head because it contradicts logic. If connection feels right, why retreat? If attraction is real, why hesitate? But female psychology doesn't run on straight lines. It runs on emotional safety. And the moment she starts imagining you as more than a moment, more than attention, more than an optioner, internal alarms go off. Here's what most men miss. Women don't fear attraction. They fear the consequences of attraction. Falling for you means she might lose leverage. It means she might care more than she planned. It means her independence, her emotional armor, her carefully rebuilt life could be disrupted. So when her feelings deepen, her behavior tightens, not because she's losing interest, but because she's losing control. Watch her actions closely. She may suddenly slow communication, but when she responds, it's thoughtful. She may avoid making future plans, yet get visibly affected when you pull away too. She may say she's not ready, not sure, or just busy, But none of those words come with closure. They're pauses, emotional breath holding. She's not running from you. She's running from the intensity of what she feels when she's with you. This is where men sabotage themselves. They try to restore certainty by pushing for reassurance. They ask where they stand. They overextend. They explain their intentions too early, hoping clarity will calm the chaos. But pressure doesn't create safety. It amplifies fear. To her nervous system, your urgency feels like a countdown, and countdowns trigger flight. A woman who's scared of falling for you needs space to regulate, to not distance, to disconnect. There's a difference. Space allows her to miss you, to process, to let attraction settle into something less overwhelming. Distance is final. When you confuse the two and chase space like it's distance, you turn fear into avoidance. Another sign she's scared, not uninterested, is inconsistency paired with emotional depth. She might disappear for days, then come back emotionally open. She might avoid labels but still confide in you about things she doesn't tell others. She might hesitate physically or emotionally, then melt when she forgets to guard herself. These aren't mixed signals, they're mixed emotions. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The more grounded you are during her pullback, the safer she feels leaning back in. Masculine stability isn't loud. It doesn't demand. It doesn't chase clarity. It stays consistent without chasing validation. When you continue living your life, honoring your purpose, maintaining your standards, something shifts inside her. Her fear loses power because you're not making her the center of your emotional universe. Women don't fall for men who need certainty. They fall for men who are certain within themselves. When she senses that your life is full, your direction is clear, and your worth isn't dependent on her reaction, her fear softens, because now falling for you doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like an addition. If she were avoiding you, she wouldn't care how you respond. She wouldn't watch your behavior. She wouldn't test your emotional steadiness with silence. Fear creates tests, not to manipulate, but to protect. She's asking a silent question. Is he safe to fall for? Or will he crumble if I let go? Don't answer that question with words. Answer it with composure, with patience, with self-respect. That's how fear turns into trust. And trust is the bridge between attraction and commitment. What scares her most isn't losing you. It's losing herself because of you. When a woman feels herself emotionally shifting, when she notices you occupying mental space she once guarded fiercely, her instinct isn't to fall forward, it's to regain balance. That's why her pullback often happens right after intimacy, laughter, or vulnerability, not before, after. Here's the psychological layer most men never see. Attraction creates dependency risk. The more she likes you, the more power you unknowingly hold. And if she's been burned before by choosing wrong, trusting too soon, or giving more than she received, a brain remembers the cost. So when she senses that familiar emotional acceleration, she doesn't ask, "Do I like him?" She asks, "What happens if I fall?" That question triggers self-protective behavior. She might become more logical, more distant, more controlled. She might suddenly prioritize work, friends, or needing space. But notice this. She doesn't emotionally detach. She just restricts access, like closing some windows during a storm while keeping the lights on. She's trying to reduce emotional exposure without shutting down connection entirely. Men misread this as disinterest and react in one of two destructive ways. They either retreat completely out of pride or they pursue aggressively out of fear. Both extremes kill attraction. Total withdrawal confirms her fear of abandonment. Aggressive pursuit confirms her fear of emotional overwhelm. The sweet spot, the rare one, is calm availability without emotional dependence. A woman who's scared of falling for you is hyper-aware of your reactions. When she delays, does your energy shift? When she pulls back, do you become colder or needier? She's watching because she's deciding, not consciously, but emotionally. Her body is scanning for safety cues. Can this man remain centered even when I'm uncertain, or does my uncertainty destabilize him? This is why masculine presence matters more than romantic words. She doesn't need you to reassure her. She needs to feel that you're solid, that your mood, purpose, and self-worth don't rise and fall with her attention. Stability calms fear. Predictability without pressure creates trust. Another key sign she's scared, not avoiding, is emotional mirroring. When you pull back slight without bitterness, without games, she feels it immediately. She may reach out subtly, like a story reaction, a random check-in, a casual message that pretends nothing happened. That's not indifference. That's anxiety over losing connection while still fearing closeness. Avoidant behavior is cold and consistent. Fearful behavior is warm and erratic. One cuts clean, the other hesitates. If she were avoiding you, she'd feel relief in your absence. Fear feels discomfort in silence. That's why she keeps tabs. That's why she circles back. Your power here is restraint. Not silence as punishment, but space as confidence. You don't withdraw to
provoke. You don't chase to secure. You stay aligned with your life, your rhythm, your values. And that communicates something words never could. That being with you is safe because losing control around you doesn't mean losing yourself. Here's the paradox. The less you try to manage her fear, the faster it dissolves. When she realizes she's free to choose you without pressure, without urgency, choice becomes desire. And desire deepens into commitment only when fear no longer needs to protect her. If she's scared of falling for you, she's already halfway there. Your behavior decides whether she steps forward or retreats forever. The moment you stop chasing her confusion, her clarity begins. This is where the dynamic flips, and most men never stay long enough to see it. When you don't react emotionally to her pullback, when you don't interrogate her silence or demand reassurance, something uncomfortable happens inside her. She has to sit with her feelings alone. No distractions, no pressure, no external emotional management, just the truth. And the truth is louder in stillness. When a woman is scared of falling for you, she relies on emotional friction to keep control. The push-pull keeps her grounded. But when you remove the pull without disappearing, you remove her safety mechanism. You're still present, still kind, still grounded, but you're no longer overinvesting. That forces her to confront what she's been avoiding, how much you actually matter to her. This is why emotionally strong men seem mysterious without trying. They don't explain themselves into relevance. They don't negotiate attraction. They don't chase clarity. Their consistency creates emotional gravity, and gravity pulls without effort. Watch what happens when you stay composed. She starts to lean back in dramatically. Not all at once, but subtly. She'll initiate small contact. She'll test emotional availability with light messages. She'll try to re-enter your space without exposing herself too much. This is her fear loosening its grip. She's checking whether the connection is still there, whether you're still there without risking too much. Here's a detail men often overlook. When she's scared of falling, she avoids moments that would seal the deal. Deep conversations, long eye contact, emotional intimacy that can't be undone. She'll keep things surface level, then accidentally slip deeper than she intended. And when that happens, she panics internally, not because she regrets it, but because she enjoyed it more than she wanted to. That's why she might suddenly act distant after a powerful moment. That moment confirms something she wasn't ready to admit. And instead of confronting it, she retreats to regain emotional control. This isn't manipulation, it's self-preservation. Your role is not to chase the intimacy she retreated from. Your role is to remain the man who created that moment without needing to recreate it immediately. When you don't chase the high, you become the source of calm. And calm is irresistible to someone drowning in emotional intensity. Another sign she's scared, not avoiding, is jealousy without possession. She doesn't claim you, but she reacts when she senses competition. She asks subtle questions. She watches how others respond to you. This isn't insecure. It's emotional investment trying to stay hidden. Avoidant women don't care who else wants you. Fearful ones do. And here's the hard truth. The moment you try to lock her down to stop your own anxiety, you confirm her worst fear that falling for you means losing freedom. But when you let her come to her own clarity, when you show that connection with you doesn't trap it, expansion, fear transforms into desire. Masculine restraint isn't passive. It's disciplined. It's choosing not to react when reaction would cost you power. It's trusting that what's real doesn't need to be forced. If she's scared of falling for you, time and composure are your allies, not pressure. Stay steady, stay present. Let her fear exhaust itself against your calm. Because fear can't survive long in the presence of emotional safety. The difference between the man she eventually chooses and the man she walks away from isn't looks, money, or lines. It's nervous system leadership. The man who stays regulated when emotions rise becomes the emotional anchor. And anchors don't chase ships. They give them a place to return to. When her fear peaks, she's internally torn. Part of her wants to lean in. The other part is screaming for control. This is the phase where women test not consciously, not maliciously, but instinctively. She might go quiet longer than usual. She might respond with less warmth. She might act unsure in ways that trigger your ego. All of this is designed to answer one question. Will he stay grounded when I'm not? If you collapse into anxiety, you answer no. If you punish her with coldness, you answer no. If you try to lock her into certainty before she's ready, you answer number. The right answer is emotional neutrality paired with quiet confidence. You don't disappear. You don't overextend. You stay exactly who you've been, centered, respectful, self-directed. Here's the part that's uncomfortable. When you do this right, she feels the loss before you do, because her fear has been using your pursuit as proof of safety. When you remove that pursuit, she has to feel the possibility of losing you. And that awakens clarity, not panic, but realization. This is when her behavior shifts. She becomes more consistent, not perfect, but clearer. She starts initiating without excuses. She invests emotionally in small but meaningful ways. She opens up without immediately retreating. These aren't accidents. They're the signs of fear dissolving into trust. And trust for a woman is the gateway to commitment. Understand this. Attraction alone doesn't make a woman stay. Emotional safety does. She needs to know that falling for you won't destabilize her life, that you won't demand more than she can give, that you won't disappear when things get real. Your steadiness proves that. Men often think being understanding means absorbing inconsistency endlessly. It doesn't. Healthy masculine energy includes boundaries. You don't tolerate disrespect. You don't chase breadcrumbs. You simply stop over-investing in uncertainty. And paradoxically, that's what makes her feel safe enough to choose. If she were avoiding you, boundaries would push her away. Fear draws her closer because fear wants resolution. Avoidance wants escape. This is also why women who are scared of falling for you often admire you quietly. They talk about you to friends. They replay conversations. They imagine outcomes. They pretend not to care about. Her distance isn't absent sight's internal negotiation. And when she finally decides when fear no longer needs to protect her, she doesn't announce it dramatically. She shows it through presence, through effort, through consistency. The chaos settles, the guessing ends, and what replaces it feels simple. But that simplicity only comes if you didn't rush the process. If you didn't beg for clarity while she was still learning to trust herself around you. Stay patient. Stay sovereign. Let her come to you in her own Tim note because you waited, but because you never abandoned yourself. By the time a woman stops being scared of falling for you, the decision has already been made in her body long before it reaches her mouth. Words come last. Energy shifts first. The anxiety fades. The pullback stops. And what replaces it isn't intensity, it's ease. This is how you know fear has turned into trust. She doesn't hesitate before reaching out. She doesn't disappear after emotional moments. She doesn't guard every interaction like it might cost her something. Instead, she shows up naturally, calmly, without overthinking. And that calm is the deepest form of attraction there is. But here's the part most men never reflect on. Her fear was never the enemy. Your reaction to it was the test. The entire dynamic was quietly measuring one thing. Can this man handle emotional weight without collapsing or controlling? Can he stay grounded while feelings grow? Can he lead without force? If you pass, she doesn't fall into steps toward you freely, and that choice means more than any confession ever could. If you failed, it wasn't because you weren't enough. It's because you tried to secure certainty instead of embodying it. You tried to own the outcome instead of owning yourself. And female psychology doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to presence. Remember this forever. When a woman is scared of falling for you, she is already emotionally invested. Fear doesn't protect what doesn't matter. Confusion doesn't surround what's irrelevant. The very behavior that unsettled you was proof of impact. Your role was never to chase her fear away. It was to remain the man she could fall toward without losing herself. So here's the question I want you to answer. Honest, no ego, no excuses. When she pulled back, did you stay grounded in your value, or did you try to chase clarity to calm your anxiety? Drop your answer in the comments. If this message hits something deep, like the video, subscribe for more truths most men never hear, and share this with a friend who's stuck confusing fear for rejection, because he needs to hear this before he loses himself trying to be chosen. And